All right. Well, let's jump right into it today. I want to talk about commies. So, of course, King Commie over here on my screen. But I want to talk about communism and just socialism in general, and really just the way that it's taken over many of the primary organizations of reformed evangelicalism and all of that kind of thing. But hopefully this will be helpful. It'll be practical and all of that kind of stuff. So before I get into that, though, let me say this. If you enjoy this content and you'd like to support the channel, I'm still using Patreon, and I'm so appreciative for the people that support me on Patreon. It makes doing this content so much easier, dedicating the time to it and all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoy this content and have not already, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Of course, I'll always include the link to it on the screen, somewhere around here or like here. I'm not really sure where. But anyway, let's jump into it today. I was watching this documentary. This is really, really good. It's about Tim Keller, and it's called What Happened to Tim Keller. And what's amazing about this documentary, it's like 30 or 40 minutes long, and it's really well done. It's a narrator talking about Tim Keller's life, and there's citations, and most of it comes directly from Tim Keller himself. He talks about, his experience in college, his upbringing, and stuff like that. And the reality is, Tim Keller's been a socialist Democrat his entire life. I mean, he's been a progressive since he was a teenager, and then he tries to mash it together with Christianity through the use of very progressive theologians and things of that nature. So the truth is, and I know that this is going to come as a shock to some people, and I don't want it to, but it's like the other day, right before the election, it came out that Tim Keller was a registered Democrat, and he tried to play it off. It was very deceptive. Tim Keller was being deceptive, where he tried to play it off, where he's like, well, in New York, I'd like to be able to vote in the primaries, and so strategically I registered it. Yeah, but let's just face it. He's a Democrat, like an actual Democrat. He votes for Democrats. He supports Democratic policies and all of that kind of stuff. Obviously, he laments. I'm sure he sits at home lamenting that his party of choice is also butchers of children. I'm sure he spends a lot of time lamenting that. But overall, he's a Democrat. He supports Democratic policies. He thinks they're better than Republican policies. And that actually comes through very clearly in this documentary. But I wanted to just say really what it boils down to when Tim Keller's telling his story of how he grew up and how he ended up trying to combine his progressive ideology with Christianity. What really happened is that he got heart checked bad. He got really heart checked, and he caved instantly. He had no heart. Tim Keller had no heart, and it was found to be the case by two Black liberation theologists, or maybe there weren't totally Black liberation theologists, but very much in line with Black liberation theology. Two black dudes heart checked him. Now, if you don't know what a heart check is when somebody sees if you'll defend yourself or not, like they're testing you. And the context that most people talk about heart checking is when you go to prison. So, if you go to prison, everyone's looking for the new people, right? Because they want to see who's going to be easy to take advantage of, right? So someone will come heart check you. What they'll do is they'll take your soup or something like that. They'll try to take your food, or they'll try to take your money, or they'll see they're testing you, right? They want your soup, yeah, but they want to test you to see if you'll defend yourself, right? And if you don't defend yourself, then you're a mark now. Now everybody knows that you don't have any heart, right? But if you do defend yourself, even if you lose, right? Like let's say you go to prison. I know that's out of the realm of possibility in these days, but let's say you go to prison, right? And somebody says, give me your fruit cocktail. You know what I mean? Like in the movie. I'm an idiot. Anyway, give me your fruit cocktail, and you just hand it over. Well, okay, then you're going to always have to give it to them for the rest of your life. But if somebody says, give me your fruit cocktail, and you punch them in the face, and then they kick your you-know-what, okay, so you might still be, you're not as good of a fighter, but you're going to defend yourself. You're not an easy mark, right? And so Tim Keller got heart checked by two black dudes, and he explains the story. One of them said, Tim, you're a racist. And Tim Keller was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, no. I know you don't try to be a racist, but you a racist, dog, because you're white." And Tim Keller just was like, "Oh, I guess just look at my skin. I mean, I guess I'm a racist." Like, he has no heart. He didn't defend himself. He didn't say, "Well, yeah, I don't appreciate you calling me something that's not true. I'm not a racist, and my skin color has nothing to do with it. You're the racist." That's what he should have said if he had some heart. "If you're judging me by my skin color, you're the racist, dog." That's what Tim Keller should have done. He should have bucked up a little bit. But the thing is, he doesn't have any heart. So he caved instantly and spent the rest of his life basically worshiping and serving liberation theology. That's what he's doing. And you're like, "Well, how can you say that? He's not a liberation theologist." Yeah. I understand he's technically a Presbyterian, but what he believes is not in line with the Westminster Confession at many points, and this is not debatable. He's got entire books written about his subversive theology, how he, people responding to him, like, this dude's not a Presbyterian. He's signed on the dotted line. Nobody has the guts to kick him out, but he should be kicked out. He believes all kinds of aberrant theologies. He's reconceptualized sin. He's reconceptualized all this stuff. And so that's the reality of Tim Keller. He's been serving the progressive cause ever since he got heart checked. And all of a sudden, this is what they call it. Don't get mad at me. This is what they call it when you don't have any heart. You hoed up. You know what that means? That means like when a pimp and a prostitute. A pimp gets a prostitute and you serve the pimp for the rest of your life. That's what happened to Tim Keller. He has no heart. And it was exposed when he was a teenager, and he spent the rest of his life proving that he has no heart. That's what happened to Tim Keller. He's a progressive, and he's subverting the PCA, and he's been very successful at it. I'm not saying that he's not competent. Tim Keller's clearly competent at what he's done because he's essentially, worked to destroy the PCA from within, and he's been quite successful at it. And so here's the reality. So Tim Keller has no heart. That's what happened to him. I suggest you watch this. There were some clips of Tim Keller in this that I had never heard before. I knew that he was a progressive, of course. I knew that he's a social justice advocate. I knew he's as woke as they come. I knew he was a commie, obviously. But there were some things in here, some sermons that he delivered when he was in at Redeemer Presbyterian, where he just flat out says, Marxism is really not that bad. I mean, they've got their hearts in the right place. They love people. Marxists love people. So communists is really about love. That where they get it wrong, according to Tim Keller, is, well, they're technically atheists, but somehow they're getting justice right and love for neighbor and loving the poor. They're getting all that right, even as they serve idols and not God. They're getting all that stuff right. It's love. It's an expression of love, and so. This is what I'm talking about. Like, he subverts the definition of love. The Marxists are not loving. You know what I mean? You can't love people by breaking the law of God with those people. But you see, to Tim Keller, it's not breaking the law of God. You see, to Tim Keller, redistribution of wealth and all of these things, this is actually biblical. This is actually an example of justice because he's subversive. You see what I'm saying? Tim Keller is a very subversive person, and not in a Christian way. You know what I mean? He has no heart. He's been serving the Black liberation movement, the progressive movement, for his entire life, ever since he was a teenager. He got heart checked. He had no heart, and he's been serving someone else for the entire time that he's been active. Now, that's some hard words, man. That's some hard words, but it's true. That's the fact. It's true. I mean, look at the policies he supports. There's minimum wage. I'm sure he supports universal basic income. Who knows? I mean, it doesn't really matter. But the progressives that he supports all support all that kind of stuff. And this is what else I wanted to talk about today, because man's law is always stupid. It's always oppressive. It's always stupid. It's always hateful. What I've been doing the last few weeks as I'm writing my book and as I'm working and stuff like that, I'll watch YouTube videos in the background. I won't really watch them. It's more like I listen to them. And what I've been listening to a lot lately are stories about poverty in America. And I all the way from like the financial crisis of 2008 all the way to today, I've been listening to like news reports of people that are struggling, right? And there's no question about it. There are people that are struggling out there, right? And so what I'm trying to listen for is I want to see sort of what the mentalities are like of these people. Why do they feel they're in the situation that they're in? And then I want to listen to what the news reporter, like what's the story that the news reporter is putting forward, right? And it's always a very liberal story, very progressive. We need to have more social safety net, stuff like that. But I've noticed that the poor people themselves often don't think in that way. And so the story is being presented a certain way, but the poor people themselves often don't think that way. But one of the things that I've noticed consistently is the stupidity and the brutality of the policies that Tim Keller likely supports. It's brutal. Here, let me explain to you the brutality of the charity, the benevolence and the grace of the socialist, the brutality of it. Because here's what happens, right? A lot of these people are single mothers, man. My heart goes out to single mothers, of course. Not to say that some of them, decisions that they've made haven't led to it, but it's just a hard thing, right? So single mothers, man, like they're working and they've got a kid or two or whatever, and they're trying to survive, and it's very, very difficult to survive, right? But here's the kind of thing that I've heard again and again and again when I'm watching these videos. They're on social assistance, right? The charitable, loving Marxists have provided for them, right? And so they're on social assistance. Let's just say they're making $15 an hour, right? They're making $15 an hour, but the only way they're able to make ends meet is through child care that is subsidized by the government, right? So the child care is subsidized by the government. They make $15 an hour. They put their kids in child care. They don't have a husband. They don't have any help. So they put their kids in this child care, and let's just say it costs $100 a month for their child care because it's heavily subsidized by the government. Here's the brutality of the social safety net, which enslaves everyone that is beholden to it. This is the kind of thing that this guy on the screen says, this is so loving. It's stupidity. Here's what happens. The woman working their butts off. They're working their butts off. They get a promotion, right? They're going to get promoted. Oh, my goodness, this is so great. I'm going to be a supervisor now. I'm going to be a manager now. I'm going to get a promotion. My career is starting to take off. The hard work is paying off. I'm going to get a raise. This is great. I'm getting a promotion. I'm going to get a raise. It's going to be so much better now. Let's just say they get $1 an hour raise. Now they're making $16 an hour. Well, the brutality of these idiots is that what happens is now you're in a new income bracket. You were making $15 an hour, but now you're making $16 an hour. You're in a new income bracket. We're going to take away the social assistance for your child care. So now child care, instead of costing $100 a month, it costs $1,000 a month. And so now you've gotten a raise, you're doing good, you're doing better at your job, but actually you've gone backwards because we're taking away your social assistance because our systems and our policies are freaking brutal. And they're designed that way so that you're always dependent on them. And so what ends up happening is this mother who is trying to work her way out of this situation, it actually is financially stupid to work your way out of that situation. So she's going to say, I don't want the raise, I don't want the promotion, because it actually hurts me at home at the end of the day. I take home less money than I would if I maintain my job at $15 an hour. That's the brutality of social justice. That's the brutality of the progressives. The law of man always works this way. It's stupid. It's very inflexible. There's no relationship there. And so you can't just, talk to the social worker and say, yeah, but this is stupid because I want to get ahead, but I need this child care. It doesn't work that way. This is why God's law is more, let me calm down because I'm going to say something I regret, but this is why God's law is superior to this nonsense, right? Because what should be happening is the church should be coming alongside a woman like that. The church should be providing charity for someone like that. You see, the church can be flexible. The church can look at a situation and say, yeah, we shouldn't we shouldn't remove all of our charity because you got $1 an hour raise, but on the contrary, we should continue to help you so that you can get out of this situation yourself. By the way, we'll also provide you with resources and how to plan financially and stuff like that, education for that kind of stuff and things of that nature, so that you don't have to be subservient in this way forever. Our goal is not to keep you on the doles as long as possible. See, that's the thing about Marxists. They want to keep you on the doles. They think that's actually good. They think it's good that daddy's providing for you and all that kind of stuff. You see, that's the thing. They want to destroy and grind your soul to be dependent on them, as opposed to being dependent on God. You see, the thing is, lots of even Christians, especially a guy like this, would be like, yeah, but I know, it's very nice, the church should be taking care of them, but that would never work. There's just too many poor people. That would never work. And so you got to have the social safety net, the government, the comes to step in and stuff like that. And honestly, that shows you where their help comes from. Anyone who says, well, the church could never do, that shows you where their help comes from. When we say they worship the state, we mean it not as hyperbole and not as just something to say. Like people say, oh, you worship Trump. You worship Trump. Well, they're just saying that because obviously I don't do everything Trump wants me to do, right? That nobody does that. Well, there are some people that do, but very few, right? But there are legions and legions and legions of people that worship the state. They do whatever the state says. They go to the state for help. They pray to the state. Some of them, the halls of the state, the Congress are sacred halls and stuff like that. And that's the reality, man. That's the reality. And so, Tim Keller is not an innocent man. And I don't mean that just in the way that we're all not innocent. You know what I mean? Of course. We're all sinners. We all throw ourselves at the mercy of a holy God and all of that kind of stuff. But what I'm saying about Tim Keller, when I say he's not innocent, is that he's a force for evil when it comes to the state and worshiping the state, and all of that comes with the worship of the state. To say that Marxists have their head in the right place, their hearts in the right place, is a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem of sin and what repentance actually is. You see, you can't repent of your sin by continuing to push people into it. That doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And so what happened to Tim Keller? Well, he was a progressive and a radical ever since he was a boy, and he still is. That's what happened to Tim Keller. He got heart checked. He had no heart, and now he's doing what he's always done. He's serving the progressive radical causes that he's always served his entire life, except now he dresses it up in Jesus language. That's the truth. That's the truth about Tim Keller. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. God bless.